rustling, because the people watching it live stream can hear everything with the mic.
Then maybe they need to come into the room and join us physically. Okay, in introductions, we'll start at Syed.
Syed Shah, Member at Large.
Julie Brandel, Town Council.
Shirley Torzan Chakurda, Member at Large and Board Chair.
Rebecca King, Councillor, Town of Slave Lake.
Taylor Kellum, Member at Large.
And Samantha Dick, Acting Director of Planning and Development.
Okay, adoption of agenda, just the one item. There's no additions. No, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Motion on the table. Rebecca, call the question. Those in favor? Carried. Minutes of previous meeting, July 7th. There's no minutes. Is there?
Yeah.
May 31st.
Yeah, I need to change that.
Yeah.
That needs to say June 7th is what it should be.
Friendly correction.
Sorry, July 7th, June 7th. I'll make sure the date is changed.
I'll make the motion to accept as amended.
Okay.
Call the question. Those in favor? Carried. Business arising from the minutes? Nothing? Development permit applications? Nothing. Land use bylaw? Nothing. On to 7A, proposed subdivisions, page 5.
Okay, so the purpose of this report is for the Municipal Planning Commission to consider a subdivision. The applicant is Mo Muellum for the owner, numbered company 561477 Alberta Limited, and the subject property is ATS Northwest 2572 6 west of the 5th. The existing use is currently undeveloped, and they are proposing to have a hobby farm on there after it is subdivided. The current site is zoned as UE or urban expansion. Municipal reserves was deferred at the previous subdivision of 6.7 hectares. And there is still enough in the remainder to cover that. Environmental reserves are recommended along the boundary of each side of the Sawridge Creek for a minimum of 6 meters to protect the bank. Conservation reserve subdivision authority may require the owner of a parcel that is subject to a proposed subdivision to provide part of the parcel to the town as a conservation reserve, but we are not recommending that at this time. The tentative plan shows a proposed subdivision to create 2 lots. The subject site is located south of Highway 2 and has Sawridge Creek running through it. The application indicates the proposed use is to create 2 lots. The land is currently undeveloped, and I sent out to many different property landowners as well as different referral, and I had only one of the referrals come back from Alberta Infrastructure, and that was just to make sure that there was no buildings going on this site at this time, in which I have been told there will not be any buildings going on the site as it goes forward. And then I had one property owner contact the planning department because she was greatly concerned that there was going to be some huge commercial development going in between her home and the creek. And I promptly assured her that that would not be even an ability due to the ER setback and top of bank setbacks for that area. So if we go into plan analysis, the MDP, the site is within the natural environment and open space and residential and general urban designation of the land use, of the town's municipal development plan. And as such, no amendment will be required. The Southwest Area Structure Plan, the subject site is within the high-density residential, environmentally sensitive, and low-density designations of the Southwest Area Structure Plan. And so then no amendments would be required to that ASP as well. The As I said earlier, the site is currently zoned urban expansion and will need rezoning for use prior to use. The intermunicipal development plan notes that this area is in map 4.6 and is designated as urban, residential, and environmentally sensitive area. So then under subdivision development regulation, Municipal Government Act, we're required to have a written decision that includes reasons for the decision, including an indication of how the subdivision authority has considered any submissions made to it. And then I'm giving you all of those regulations. For subdivision regulation, section 14 states that any application within 1.6 kilometers of the center line of a highway right away applies to the land that is subject to the application. So then, so we have to look at what the use is. And so section 14 provides regulations with respect to the land described above. And the subdivision authority shall not approve an application for subdivision unless the land is for agricultural purposes on parcels 16 hectares or greater, a single parcel with an existing residence or an unsubdivided quarter section, an undeveloped single residential parcel from an unsubdivided quarter that is located 300 meters from the highway, contained in an area where there is an agreement between the municipality and the Minister of Infrastructure and Transportation, and the use is permitted in the agreement, or contained in the area structure plan satisfactory to the Minister of Infrastructure and Transportation. So planning considerations. The subdivision application was referred to the MD of Lesser Slave River and the Sawridge First Nation as the subject lands are located within the regional growth plan and the IDP area. No comments were received from the Sawridge First Nation. However, the municipal district of Lesser Slave River expressed two concerns. First of all, road access. How will Lot 1 receive access? If a bridge is needed, then a fiscal impact assessment would be required. If access is to come through northeast 2572-6 west of the 5th, then an access easement would need to be registered on both land titles. The second thing is a flood plan analysis may be needed to find a suitable building pocket without flood risk for this property. A caveat showing the suitable building pocket should be registered on title. Access to subdivision. So the access to the remainder lot will be from Main Street South. Access to the proposed Lot 1 shall be accomplished in one of two ways, either through an access agreement registered on title or through Lot 1 being consolidated with ATS Northeast 2572-6 west of the 5th. For the lot sizes of the two parcels, one will be 17.09 hectares and the other one will be 9.005 hectares. The lands adjacent to Sawridge Creek meet the requirements for environmental reserve. A municipal reserve is not required for this application as we already have that on caveat on the title. There is no landfills or sewage sites within the regulated specified distances. This site does lie within a designated flood fringe and or a designated floodway, and as such, there exists potential for flooding. There's no concerns with this site with regard to soil stability. At this time, the proposed use is agriculture, and so servicing is not necessary at this time. The land taxes for this subject parcel has been paid in full, and currently there's no outstanding local improvement levies that apply to this parcel. As such, the proposed subdivision meets all of the requirements and no issues arise with respect to the municipal infrastructure at this time. The recommendation is that the MPC approve the application subject to the following conditions: that prior to endorsement of an instrument, all land taxes and levies are paid, that they provide 6 meters of environmental reserve on each side of Sawridge Creek, the deferred MR reserve area to be carried forward on the balance of the parcel, and legal access to proposed Lot 1 must be provided by means of an access agreement to be registered on the title of the adjacent parcel or alternatively consolidated with the adjacent parcel. Registration of the access easement must be dealt with concurrently upon registration of the subdivision of land titles.
Okay, I have a whole load of questions.
Absolutely.
So this is the
Throw 'em at me.
first time I've looked at it. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the plan.
Mhm.
We have a lot 1, block 1. Is that the piece that's being subdivided? And
Yeah.
that's what
That's being
We're
subdivided
looking-
out, yes.
So how is he to get access from this piece?
So a bit of backstory, this property will be sold immediately upon subdivision. And the person that owns the property to the east of it will be purchasing. So like I said, I'm giving them an option. They can consolidate and have access that way, or they can have to register an access agreement through that property.
So okay, so there's access to the east, the property east of it from the highway?
There is. So you'll notice, because there's logging happening there right now, that there's that access road that's right beside the Aquamax car wash.
Oh, okay.
And so there will be access granted through there. He will have to come for, right now he has a temporary access, and he will have to come for a permanent access through there.
Okay, so he'll own both lots, consolidate or access agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's absolutely no development, no little shacks, no nothing?
At this time, no. I have been told simply animals.
Okay. Anybody else?
Basically, the start of the application.
Sorry, the machine out there is making a lot of noise.
So basically, at the start of the application, we have three types of reserve. We have the municipal reserve, environmental reserve, and then the conservation reserve.
Yes.
But later on, we don't hear anything about the conservation reserve. So is the town going to enforce that, or?
It's not required.
It's not required.
It's not required for this particular. I'm more concerned with the environmental impact of the creek, that we have a reserve along there. Okay.
And then later on, like, there are flooding concerns here when we look at the discussion points.
Mhm.
And then it's highlighted here the potential for flooding
Yes.
exists. But later on in the motion, in para 4, it says that concluded there are low risk of flooding. There is low risk of flooding. So the motion is a bit like out of step from what
There,
we're.
I have to say there is risk of flooding, but the risk is low. At this time, I have lived here for 25 years. I've never seen that area flood.
And what about the flood plan report or something like that that's already mentioned here that may be needed or that's required?
That is a request we can request of them, that they do a flood plan study of the area.
I can see if they were proposing an actual buildings, a structure subdivision. I think at that time.
That would be absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so if
Which
that's.
is why I didn't suggest that we require it, because as far as I'm aware of, there is no buildings going on this site anytime soon.
If this point is a bit stressed out here in the motion, saying that since there are no building requests, so the flood impact is expected to be less.
Mhm.
And then in the motion, we don't see anything about the environmental reserve.
This piece.
So is this the same one that's come to our table before for the clear cutting?
No,
No,
Oh, it's not.
no.
Okay.
This is,
different owners.
that was a logging operation on a different property.
Okay. But this is the same area.
This is the
'Cause
same area.
They were using the
Yes.
same road. Okay. So this one is zoned UE. Is this going to come back to us for a rezone at any point?
Yes, he will have to rezone it in order to run animals on it.
Right. Okay. So if he's not proposing to put any residences on a hobby farm?
No
No.
accessory buildings conducive to a hobby farm.
Not this time.
We have a hobby farm, no accessory building.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
You want to
Well,
put some sort of shelter for
So
animals?
my understanding is that what he was proposing is to have cattle on there. Cattle don't need a shelter.
I grew up on a farm. The cattle any farm animals needed shelter.
Yeah, you might want to double check that for sure.
Okay. I grew up on a farm as well, and we never had shelters for our cows, so.
Is this a time sensitive
Yes.
application?
Yes. It is.
How so?
Because the requirements of the MGA state that we have so many days to give, excuse me, conditional approval. Now, we can move that stay be put on it and extend. And if you need more information or there's more questions, we can absolutely make a motion and postpone it. But they would have to give approval for that postponement.
My concern is that we've only heard back from a few of our partners.
That's typical.
It is. I also have a concern actually with cattle on the creek.
Okay.
Because that is actually working with the Slave Lake watershed now for 4 years. That is one of our main things that we deal with.
And that creek drains
And that
through town.
Creek drains through town. So I'd like to hear back maybe
So-
more on the
So
environmental.
part of that, like I said, we would require ER reserve. And I realize, as Syed said, I have missed that in the motion, so we would have to add that. Is a minimum of 6 meters, which means that they would have to fence off 6 meters from top of bank of creek and couldn't have access to the creek.
I mean, poop flows downhill. So
Yeah.
like literally.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm not sold on this one yet, and I would be okay to make a motion to pass. Is that like, how do you want me to word that? To wait for some more information, to defer it,
Defer it, yeah.
Table it.
to table it for
Table
some
it,
more
mhm.
information? I would like to hear back from the Sawridge First Nation if that's like part of their area as well. That's a concern of mine. If they, I don't know if
They sold their property.
they have sold their property, so it's no longer even a concern of theirs? Or
I
yeah,
don't know if it's not a concern of theirs, but the property no longer belongs to them as of April of this year.
okay.
The land was previously owned by the Sawridge and now is owned by the new company.
How are they going to water the cattle and shelter them?
I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know.
I'm sorry, point eight. Yes, that was, that's what that one was, yes.
Is there any, have you seen?
It was already referred to them as part of the subdivision process because I had to refer to all adjacent landowners.
Did they get letters?
Is there something in our planning booklet that describes hobby farms?
No. So he would have to bring an amendment, and he's already been told this, forward for not just redistricting or rezoning, but also a definition for a new use.
So there's many more steps after this. This is just.
This is just the
subdividing
starter.
Property.
Mhm.
All right.
Like, I don't have a problem subdividing the property, but now that we know what the intent for that property could end up is gonna be,
We can deal that one on the next.
I think we have to deal with that at the next,
yeah.
at the next application.
Mhm.
So that being said, we are not approving a use on this property.
No, we're just approving the subdivision of one piece into two pieces.
Okay,
Mhm.
and that's it.
Yeah, and that's really,
so the one piece into two pieces means that it's being subdivided by the creek, the natural boundary. of the
basically,
creek.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I guess this is probably more for the rezone, but what other animals? Is it just cattle or?
That's all I was told.
I'm a little bit better with that, knowing that it's just subdividing the property
Mhm.
and there's nothing else, everything else still has to come through.
Yeah, there's a few more steps,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
me too.
So we would need to, we would need to add a motion,
Things that need to be added into the motion.
the part of the providing the 6-meter environmental reserve.
So that would be one of, another.
That would be one of the conditions of the
the
points.
conditions. So
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth condition.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned earlier, that therefore is no risk of flooding since there's no structure there. And we have a job in laws. So, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's-
Yeah.
Yeah, my concerns have been like addressed. I thought we were approving more than this,
No.
Okay,
but I'm okay with that.
Okay.
okay, can I get a motion? Anybody? Syed?
Diane? Okay. And adding that, yep. Okay. So I have put in here provides 6-meter ER on each side of the Sawbridge Creek. Is that good enough for everybody?
So, yeah, providing an ER, then that's under the jurisdiction of the province or
Town.
of the town? So what,
Their boundary when it's taken is typically,
But isn't it?
I thought it-
That'd be the province.
it's environmental reserve is not province. Environmental reserve is a designation or a district within the town of Slave Lake. The creek itself is, of course, waterways, so that's federal.
federal?
But just because we take ER does not mean it goes to the province. It becomes the town's property.
I always thought an ER was a federal
No.
jurisdiction.
Provincial.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No. So if you were to ever look at who owns the ERs within the town of Slave Lake, I've looked at the ownership of
Under the town?
90% of them, and they all say town of Slave Lake as the owner.
Okay.
So,
Mhm.
I just want to, all these properties that are at the backs of this street.
No, that'll be a separate lot, right?
It would be, yes, it would then add basically two more lots because then it would be 6 meters on each side.
Yeah.
That would be required to be subdivided out as well.
And that's what we have on the rest of them is 6 meters, correct? Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You understood that, Syed? Okay. Did we get a motion?
So Syed said he would do that as well as with making sure that we have the 6 meter ER on either side of the creek.
Yeah. Yeah, because we are dealing with both sides of the creek.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else? No, call the question. Those in favor? Carried? Opposed? You were carried? Okay.
Okay, so at this time we have a meeting scheduled for August 9th. And I do not have any items for that meeting at this time.
Okay.
So I'm not going to cancel it till closer to the date. But if we don't have anything, you'll hear the week before.
And I would like to, under other business,
Yep.
offer our condolences to former MPC member Dan Rooks, his family. Dan passed this last month, and he was I felt like a very valuable member of our MPC. He was
Yes.
a very good man, and he will be sadly missed.
Mhm.
Okay, adjourned. Here we go.
Tell us when we're off.